speak on campus. So this was not about free speech.
So it was just about honoring her free speech.
It was about honoring the same
So
way.
you didn't want to honor her free speech?
It's not about
Holy crap, did I find the nugget. This guy talking about Ion Hersey getting uninvited to his college campus. Private campus, so yeah, it's not public, but private. Why did he uninvite her?
Women.
Her speech about women is admirable and was the reason, in large part, for the original invitation. There was speech that specifically said that Islam should be crushed. And when she was asked, this is on the
So right there, Islam should be crushed. So you're not allowed to say Christianity should be crushed. Or no, I think you are. Just not Islam. Are you allowed to say that feminism should be crushed? Or how about Newtonian physics? Should that be crushed? Can you say that white supremacy should be crushed? Or racism should be crushed? No, you can't. You're not allowed to crush things. You're not allowed to crush ideas, says this guy. Especially if it's a minority hot topic flashpoint idea.
When she was asked, you mean radical Islam, you don't mean all Islam. She said, no, I mean all Islam. This is in direct response to that question. It must be crushed and something new built on its level. If someone had said that about Christianity, if someone had said that about Judaism, that is someone who would not have been honored by Brandeis University.
No. They would have been if someone said, we need to crush Christianity to build something better. Yeah, we did. Christianity used to be horrible back in the Middle Ages. It was ran like a fucking government. Well, that's because it was the government, because they didn't really have governments back then. It was the only institution. So, yeah.
Would they have been free to speak? Absolutely.
So I assume since you pulled away her doctorate, you invited her back to give lectures on a regular basis, right?
Did that publicly and did that personally and privately.
And so she did. She felt welcome to do that?
I can't say whether she felt welcome.
I can. So did she feel welcome from you, Mr. Lawrence?
She did, in fact, not come to campus for a public event. She did come to campus subsequently for events, a program at the business school. But she had a standing invitation.
So do you not see what you did had a chilling effect on her free speech? You know, she's out there actually.
I would put it in the same category, Congressman, as a...
I know you would, but I wouldn't put it in the same category as what? Go ahead, I'll let you finish.
All right, a university, a faith-based university that said that although students are free to express pro-choice views, we will not give an honorary degree to someone who is an advocate.
So are you saying that what you should do is actually... I'll yield back.
Time, place, and manner.
I may not be the only one in the room who wanted to hear how that sentence ended.
So much for free speech.
And you all know Mr. Meadows is my best friend in Congress. So the gentleman from Maryland, the professor, is recognized.
Left-wing speech, take a bite. Somebody doesn't like right-wing speech, take a bite. Somebody doesn't like Nadine Strossen's eloquent defense of pornography, take a bite. Some people don't like anti-pornography speech and so on. At the end, there's nothing left of the apple if you're not willing to stand up for the whole thing. We devour the entire thing. Question for you, Ms. Strossen. At a time when freedom of speech is under attack at the highest Post, New York Times kicked out of the press room and so on. How do we overcome the negative messages that are being sent about free speech at the highest levels of government so young people understand, as Congressman Meadows said, as others have said, that this is really who we are, number one. Number two, this is for Professor Lawrence. Speech exists in a context of power. For example, in Congress, for decades before the Civil War, there was a gag rule. You couldn't mention slavery because of the power of the pro-slavery delegations. It could not be mentioned on the floor of Congress. That was one of the things that precipitated the Civil War. Even today, it's a wonderful panel, but 4 of you have been chosen by the majority under our rules, and 1 of you has been invited by the minority. So speech always exists in the context of a set of complex power relationships. Now, in the 1960s and 70s...
Wow, this guy's a real friggin' postmodern Marxist. Jeez. Speech always exists in terms of power.
Thousands of people were suspended, expelled, or otherwise disciplined in anti-Vietnam War protests from campuses. Their speech, there was an effort to drive their speech off of campus. When I was in college in the 1980s, we saw thousands of people disciplined for protesting the universities and corporate complicity with apartheid South Africa. The speech codes that were used at that time then were dusted off to make life miserable for right-wing activists like Mr. Shapiro and so on. Now my question is a serious question, which is there an effort across partisan lines, left-right lines, to come up with a model speech code that every university and college could adopt that everybody would support universally? Okay, so Mr. Lawrence, that's for you. Number 3, and maybe I'll address this one to Mr. Zimmerman and Mr. Shapiro. Are your concerns about free speech just for public universities, like Berkeley or the University of Wisconsin, or do they apply to private universities too, like Yale and Harvard and Liberty Baptist, or Liberty University in Virginia, Georgetown, which has kicked off pro-choice speakers and shut down a gay student group at one point, Catholic University, which has kicked off of campus speakers defending pro-choice. And then I looked at Liberty University, for example, says that profanity that
censor they're a private university, sure, which is why when I went to DePaul University and they threatened to arrest me, I left the campus. If they had done that at Cal State LA, I would have stayed and been arrested.
Okay, Dr. Zimmerman, do you agree with that? Do you think there's a free speech value we should be fighting for on private campuses as well as public?
Absolutely, but it's a different kind of free speech right. That is, the right to free speech is should absolutely be there because it's a college campus. If we value college education, we have to value alternative views. If we value the liberal arts, we have to value other people's ideas. We can't have meaningful discussion if we only have one side of that discussion. But that's different than the state mandating that you have to be able to do that.